I'd like to ask Olivia and Hannah Harding to come up. So now you've heard from two with tumours on the brainstem and on the periphery who, come on darling, who were told very poor prognosis tumours who are here with us many, many years later. The next two cases are pituitary tumours. And I'm going to ask Olivia and Hannah to tell their story, and this is called When a Craniopharyngioma Proves Difficult, Are Pituitary Surgeons Accessible?
Good morning, everyone. This is Olivia, and I'm Olivia's mum. Today we would like to share with you Olivia's journey, and in doing so highlight the need for change in the way we treat childhood brain tumours. Olivia was diagnosed with a rare... Do you want to click onto the slide? Olivia was diagnosed with a rare type of brain tumour called a craniopharyngioma when she was just 4 years old. She'd been having headaches and vomiting for a week, so we went to our local hospital. She had a CT scan, and we soon found ourselves in an ambulance to the John Radcliffe, where she was soon to have emergency surgery. Hold on, just click, I think you just click on that. There you go. The first operation was minimally invasive, with the sole purpose being to drain a cyst which had grown on the tumour. This cyst was causing a build-up of pressure in her brain, the medical term for this being hydrocephalus. As parents, initially we were incredibly relieved to learn that the tumour was benign. We naively thought that it could be removed and that Olivia would continue with her life as normal. The stark reality was that, like any tumour, it would grow, although slowly. It could invade and damage important structures in the midbrain, such as the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus, which both control development, as well as potentially impacting upon the optic chiasm and therefore potentially affecting vision if left untreated. This tumour would also prove difficult to remove. We really had no idea of what lay ahead.
I have very little memory of the early days after I was diagnosed. I was only 4 at the time. I can imagine that for any young child going through a similar experience, that it would be quite confusing, a little scary at times, and hard to get through.
The initial plan was to watch and wait and hopefully get Olivia through puberty before the tumour was operated on. Unfortunately, Olivia's tumour had other ideas, and she quickly developed hydrocephalus later that summer. After further emergency surgery to alleviate the pressure on her brain, the decision was made that Olivia would need an operation again later that summer to remove as much of the tumour as possible. Due to her age, we were informed that the only available option to remove the tumour was via a craniotomy. This is a surgical operation which involves opening the skull to access the brain. Olivia's neurosurgical consultant explained to us during the consent meeting that this would be a hairy operation with significant risks to life or resultant life-altering consequences. Not really the words you want to hear as a parent, but we had no choice but to proceed. A week later, Olivia underwent a 10-hour operation, yes, 10 hours. Thankfully, we had a highly skilled surgical team undertake the surgery, and the operation went well, with the tumour peeling back relatively easily. A small part of the tumour was left behind on the pituitary stalk, as we were told that the removal presented a risk to life. Following the operation, this is Olivia in hospital on the intensive care unit, she would stay there for another 2 weeks. We'd been warned that the immediate aftermath following the surgery would be perilous, and it certainly was. Due to the sudden shock to Olivia's pituitary gland, a hormone that normally helps control the balance of salt and water in the body, her pituitary gland stopped working. With a significant increase in urine output coupled with cerebral salt wasting, another side effect of this type of operation, Olivia encountered dangerous swings in her salt levels. Her salt levels became so low that she suffered a seizure. After an incredibly worrying week, I'm sure you can imagine, a new strategy was adopted by the endocrine team, which enabled them to get on top of her salt levels, and thankfully her salt levels returned to normal. A further complication arose while she was in intensive care, with CSF fluid circulating around the brain failing to drain, and this resulted in Olivia also having to endure a lumbar drain. Olivia was eventually moved out of intensive care onto the children's ward after what can only be described as a torturous time for her, and she was discharged a week later, and thankfully she hasn't got much memory of it.
I don't remember much of my experience on intensive care. I know from my parents that when I was in hospital, I was unusually angry as I didn't feel well. I was constantly poked and prodded by the doctors and didn't get much sleep. I do remember feeling sad that I was in hospital for my 5th birthday.
There had been some inevitable damage to her pituitary gland following the operation, and from this point onwards it became necessary for her to start on lifelong, life-saving hormone replacement medications, without which she wouldn't grow, sexually mature, have children of her own, recognise hunger, thirst, day-night rhythm of sleep and wakefulness, or fight illness and infection.
I have to take lots of tablets up to 5 times a day. I have an injection every evening, and my mum and dad carry an emergency stereo pack with me. It's a bit different to my friends, but I am used to it now, and I just get on with it.
The recovery phase following the operation took weeks. Olivia was subdued, tired, and struggled to cope. When she returned to school, she would hang back at the school gate, not wanting to go in. Her teacher reported problems with her coordination, fine motor skills, and tiredness overall. Olivia also looked different. She had hair loss at the site of surgery, and she had gained a significant amount of weight from the large doses of steroids that she had received in hospital. Olivia was only in school for another 8 weeks before she started a course of proton beam therapy, that's targeted radiotherapy, in Manchester, and this was to treat the residual nodule of tumour that remained. The radiotherapy over time left Olivia particularly tired and destroyed what was left of her pituitary function.
I do remember in Manchester the nurses making me feel special by giving me lots of attention and bravery, and a bravery bead every time I underwent treatment, but when I got home I felt very tired and different to my friends.
So, following radiotherapy, Olivia was then transferred to our local hospital for her endocrine care, even though this was a rare condition and in our view required specialist expertise. Ensuring the optimal balance of hormones through the right doses of hormone replacement medications was essential to her well-being, energy levels, growth, muscle development, weight, and overall quality of life. It took another 9 months following surgery before she was put on growth hormone. She was also overdosed on steroids and underdosed on medications that help speed up your metabolism and give you energy. She therefore gained a lot of weight and continued to struggle with tiredness. We ultimately made the decision to seek a referral to the endocrine team at Great Ormond Street Hospital, a tertiary centre that has the expertise and specialist knowledge that Olivia needs to have the best quality of life. This is where we first met Dr. Spadeus and Dr. Cabone, and have not looked back. So it's now 2022, and the next hurdle before us is that there is a high recurrence rate with this type of tumour, if not completely removed. Despite a small nodule of tumour remaining post-surgery, and this solid mass being directly targeted with radiotherapy, the active disease had unfortunately returned. We were advised that Olivia would need another craniotomy. This was a horrifying prospect. We were fully aware that the risks of a craniotomy were even higher the second time round due to scarring, with a greater risk of neurological injury. We felt very strongly that we wanted to explore an alternative approach to a craniotomy and had read about a transnasal approach, which is surgery through the nose. We therefore contacted Dr. Spadeus to get her second opinion on the suggested approach. Dr. Spadeus advised us of a highly specialised adult pituitary surgeon at the John Radcliffe, Mr. Simon Cudlip, who's with us here today. She advocated on our behalf and pushed for her and Mr. Cudlip to attend the next neuro-oncology multidisciplinary meeting to discuss Olivia's case. It was later agreed that Mr. Cudlip would operate on Olivia and that he would do this via transnasal surgery. This type of surgery is much less invasive, meaning far fewer risks of neurological injury. The operation took approximately 3 hours and was successful. The tumour was debulked and the cyst pulled away. This time, Olivia spent only 1 day in the high dependency unit and was discharged from hospital 3 days later. She reported no side effects or symptoms following the surgery. She returned to school after the Christmas holidays with no impact on her academics. She resumed her normal swimming club and sport within a few months. So I think you can see how very different this was to her first operation, the craniotomy. Although Olivia still faces some challenges ahead of her, thanks to the exceptional care she has received, as well as her own determination and resilience, she is now thriving in a mainstream school and is excelling in her sporting achievements. She swims 3 times a week with the swimming club, plays football, this is Olivia here, for a local girls team, and last year competed in her first triathlon, click on, raising over £2,000 for Success Charity. She also has a love for reading, building Harry Potter Lego and Warhammer.
I don't feel any different to my friends now. I love training and competing in swimming and being part of an all-girls football team. I don't really think too much about being ill. It doesn't hold me back, and if anything, it has made me more resilient and stronger. I am very thankful for everything that Dr. Spadeus and Dr. Cudlip have done for me, as well as the team of doctors and nurses at Oxford and the Christie.
There is a very strong likelihood that the outcome would have been very different had she not had the good fortune of being operated on by one of the best adult pituitary surgeons in the world, who, despite her age, was able to perform a transnasal operation. We're very grateful for the support we've received from Dr. Spadeus in making this happen, and the excellent endocrine care we've received from both Dr. Spadeus and Dr. Cabone at Great Ormond Street Hospital. And not to mention everyone else that's been involved. Olivia's journey highlights the importance of ensuring that every child has equity of access to the best possible pituitary care, from paediatric endocrinologists to neurosurgeons, and therefore the best possible long-term quality of life. This approach is supported in the first worldwide children's pituitary tumour guidelines recently published and being led by Success, which Mr. Cudlip will be talking about later on in this session.
I hope you have found my story interesting. It's great to be here with you. I hope we can help with other children with tumours just like mine in the future.